Today we're going to be talking about the 3 main skills that you need to have as an electrician. These are going to be super practical things, and then at the end I'm going to share with you guys the thing that makes all of these skills actually successful. So make sure that you guys stick around for that. And I want to let you guys know that today's video is brought to you by Markate. They are an excellent way to help manage your relationships with your customers. They're fantastic for service-based businesses. They help with everything from scheduling to invoicing, quoting, everything that you have in between you and your customer. They make it so easy. They streamline it all, and it's incredibly affordable. So you guys, there's a link in the description for a 2-week free trial. Go ahead, head down there and check that out. Even if you're just doing side work right now, I'm telling you guys, it'll change the game for you. It'll make life a lot easier in that department, and it'll help professionalize your business and make it easier for you to have your time back. Now, the number one skill that you'll need to have is conduit, or getting the electricity from one place to the other, right? Now, the electricity starts at the panel and it ends at the light where it's actually being used. The reason that we have the electricity is so we can turn the lights on so we can see what we're doing during the night or when it's dark in the place where there's not windows, whatever. That being said, the electricity gets from one place to another in a certain way. Now, that can look like conduit, metal conduit, EMT, or rigid. It can look like PVC, especially if it's underground. It can look like Romex if you're in a house. Whatever it is, that electricity has to get from one place to another, and you have to run those wires, right? Typically, they have to be ran in something that protects them. If it's in a house, it's just going to be some rubber sheeting. It's just going to be a non-metallic cable. That is super easy. But when it comes to factories and stuff like I tend to work in, it's going to be metal conduit. And you're going to have to put bins in that conduit. You're going to have to put different things that, really you're going to have to go through, and you're going to have to scout out the way that you want to go. If it's in an old factory and there's a lot of runs already, you're going to have to see how you want to get from one place to the other. This is something that I enjoy the most, is conduit bending, okay? That's the practical skill. Also, knowing when you can use conduit and when you can use MC cable. It's the raceway in which you use to take the wires, which is what carries the electricity, to that thing that you're feeding electricity to. It's one of the things that I do the most, and it's super, super easy when you actually have the knowledge of what you can use and you learn how to do it. That being said, it goes much, much deeper than that, especially depending on your field. It could be completely different. If you're a residential guy, you're just going to use NM cable for the most part, aside from your services and that type of stuff. That is the number one thing. And the number two connected to that is the actual wiring. It's hooking up the wires that you've pulled through whatever conduit. It's the conductor that you pull through, which is typically wire. It can be other things like a bus on a bus bar, but typically it's wire. It's whatever carries that electricity, like actually has the electricity on it. So the wires typically, and you carry it from the panel. It's how you hook it up in the panel, and it's also how you hook it up to the light, or how you hook it up to the machine, or how you get it to do whatever you're wanting it to do. So it's the actual connecting of the electricity to whatever device you want to move, whatever device you want to power up. And this one is probably one of the more complex and complicated, not from a base level. Okay, wiring a switch is easy. Wiring an outlet is easy, but it's complex in the way that you can go so many different avenues. If you want to be a fire alarm guy, fire alarm is so drastically different than wiring up a house, wiring up outlets, wiring up lights and different little small stuff like that. Okay, it's complex when it comes to stuff like actually connecting fire alarms. Now, with that being said, there's also all kinds of just controls and low voltage stuff too that does that. Or you can look at machines. You can see, what rotation the machine needs to be in. If it's 3-phase, make sure you have it clockwise or counterclockwise. You can test and you can see. This is the part, not that is complicated, especially not at the beginning. You guys, switches are easy. Even 3-ways, easy. All of the small wiring stuff is so easy. And when you really get down, when you dial it all down, things do become simple if you can learn how to follow a wiring diagram. Low volt stuff, I will say, sometimes gets more complex. That being said, it's not a skill that anybody, it doesn't take a really specialized type of person to learn it. I believe that anybody can if they apply themselves. So wiring is the second component. It's the second skill. It's the most broad, I will say, of the skills. But wow, it is one of the more fun things that we do too. You get to actually think about it. And it's always sweet to when you have spent, months running conduit and running wires to actually hook your fire alarms up, do your test, and everything works out. That is a great feeling. And the third thing, this is probably my favorite, and I actually have felt like saying that about all of these, and you realize how much you enjoy your job when you talk about the three main parts, and you're like, wait, I like doing all three of them. It's a huge variety, but troubleshooting is the third part, and it's one of my favorite things. It's actually, I believe, the skill that I excel at the most, and it's what we do when there's trouble. Another way you could look at this is problem solving, but the technical term is troubleshooting in this field. And so what that means is after you hook everything up, if there's an issue, you have to go find that issue. Now, this is going to happen from time to time, no matter how careful you are. There might be a bad device, there might be a loose connection, whatever it is. But when you actually put in like weeks and weeks worth of work on a project, there are going to be some things. If it's a large project and you have, multiple people working on it, if you have 100 people working on a project, you're going to have something that's messed up. So once you find out there's an issue, it's going to find that issue. This is the thing that I actually love doing the most. And this is typically in the wiring department. It doesn't actually happen in the conduit department. It's the conductor department. It's the second skill that you'll need. So this is typically where you'll find your troubleshooting to find out what the problem is, right? And it can be a short, it can be something isn't working, it's not turning on. That is one of the saddest things ever, is when you go to end a project and turn on whatever that is and it doesn't turn on. That is sad. But then from there, you have to go find out what the issue is so you can fix it so things work. Now, this also happens over time. It's not just by mistakes. Sometimes things rot and wear away, especially when it's been years. Go to a lot of gas stations. Used to do a lot of service calls to gas stations, especially for lighting, and things would just have eroded from being outside. Water eventually got into the pipes, all that fun stuff. Wear from weather and time, and things just don't work. Sometimes it can be a bad breaker. A breaker eventually will just go out, and it's not tripped. You have to find out what it is, why it's doing this, and replace it. That is the essence of troubleshooting, and it's really just like for me, I enjoy it because you actually just like use your brain so much, and you get to like figure out what the problem is. I don't know. I really don't even know how else to say it, but it is one of my favorite things. This is typically when you're using your meter, you're not just testing everything out, but you're actually figuring out what's wrong. I love troubleshooting. It is my bread and butter as a service electrician. It's what I love to do. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes people have their GFI tripped and you have to press the button and reset it. It's the $500 button reset. It's such a beautiful thing. It's terrible. I actually feel so bad most of the time if I'm going in somewhere and it's just a GFI that's tripped and people are freaking out. I'm like, you could have saved so much money. In all of these skills, you guys, there is one thing that will be the same no matter what you learn and how you learn how to do it. If you are one of the ones who actually apply yourself, you will excel in your field. Now, there's a lot of mediocrity, and especially in the trades, it's like almost accepted to just be like fit in and okay. I'm telling you though that if you apply yourself, and typically the people who watch these videos are the people who apply themselves, so you guys are starting off on the right foot. You guys are doing the right thing by actually spending time to get better at your craft, and you guys are actually like trying to be better, which is an amazing thing. It's the reason why I excelled as fast as I did. If you guys haven't seen that, I'll link it at the end to tell you guys like what happened to me and how I ended up being much further ahead than most people my age, or with my limited amount of time in the field at the time, ended up running work. So I'm telling you guys that no matter what it is, whoever is around you, you guys don't just do the bare minimum. Do what is acceptable. There is a Bible verse that I absolutely love. It's in Proverbs, and it says, "Do you see a man skillful in his craft? He will stand before kings. He will not stand before obscure men." And what this means is when you're actually skilled in your craft and you apply yourself, like you won't just be put in random places. The longer that you do everything that you're supposed to do, you will actually stand in front of the right people, and you'll be able to get promotions. You'll be able to, do better at work. You'll be able to get paid more. That's why everybody's doing this. I know it's fun and like I enjoy it, but we're doing this to get paid. Let's call it what it is. You'll get paid the best. You'll be in front of the people who can actually pay you. Okay. So when you become skillful in them, you do better. So those are the 3 skills that you're going to need. They're the 3 different types of fields that we really work in all the time, no matter what field you're in electrical. You guys, if you want to see just how I started out in the field, go ahead, head up to this video and watch this. But remember, it's all for His glory, and I will see you guys on the next one.